This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for.
5 years ago, almost now, Line 6 came out with the 3.0 update to the firmware. And within that, there was a very, very cool, and I think the first within the modeling space, delay called the Glitch Delay. This has been something that I've sort of played around with for years, and I thought it was a really, really, really awesome sound. Still, if you check like forums and stuff, there'll be people like Drew checking out whether the Fractal can do that sort of thing, and there are ways that you can actually get something close. But a couple of weeks ago, Misha Mansell X, that plugin, there's a delay in there called the Glitch Delay, imaginatively named as it is. Now, this is pretty much the same concept. Maybe it's an accidental thing, but it's essentially a granular delay. And the way that these kind of things work, and the more that I look into this and try different ones of them, the more it makes some sort of sense. So what is kind of happening is that if you imagine there's like a virtual sort of tape listening to what you've played, it then essentially gets chopped up according to whatever the settings are, and then played back. So you might have like, 4 little samples of time, for example, and some of them might get, this is what the chaos element in the Misha Mansell plugin was for, or what there's another name for it, occurrence, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not chaotic as chaotic in the shuffler. But anyway, so what it would do would be to chuck some of those little snippets, like the grains, either up an octave, down an octave. Now, my Misha Mansell license ran out, and I'm not going to buy it because that was about the only part of the Misha Mansell plugin that I really liked. But I'll show you how you can use some of this stuff in Helix. The fact is that if you bought that plugin, it's not going to work on your Quad Cortex yet anyway. So if this is a sort of sound that you wanted to take out live and gig, it's also no good until PCOM comes along. Doug, get on it. And or until they bring the glitch into Quad Cortex, which is another kind of question about will that happen. So let's dig in. I'll show you how it goes. I love this effect. I really appreciate what Nora DSP did in terms of putting an interface on it. It is essentially the same sort of concept as the Line 6, so you could experiment with some of these things and get similar results. As I say, live, you're not necessarily going to be able to do this sort of thing with Quad Cortex yet. Although, what you could do, if you check out, there's a Reverb preset called Crystal Echoes, I think, something like that. Crystals, maybe. You could do something sort of similar where you put a delay on a different line and pitch that delay up. And then maybe if you put some panning on it, maybe some reverse, you can get some kind of things that sound texturally kind of like this. But let's dig in. If you want to grab the preset, you can jump into the Gumroad folder. But I've got a few sort of glitch delay presets. I think it's a really, really nice sort of ambient effect. It sounds great like on keyboards and stuff like that. It might even sound okay on voice. I need to find a mic and try that. But yeah, they definitely copied Line 6 on this. But Chase Bliss have done this sort of thing. I think the first Granular Delay thing was the Particle from Red Panda, I think. But it's a relatively modern sort of, like, this is sort of like an 80s effect where it first kind of made it into the synth world. Anyway, let's dig in. So here's what we got. Now, I should also say one other little thing that I noticed that works quite nicely. So I'll just get rid of the glitch delay first. So this was something that I saw that they were doing in the plugin on one of the presets. So instead of using a tape sort of as a tape, as it were, as a delay, take the delay time down as short as possible, and set the mix to 100, headroom here to 100 so we're not overdriving the tape, although if you want to do that you also totally could, and turn the wow flutter up, and you get, so from this and if you wanted to drive that tape preamp, I guess you could. But giving you that kind of tape wobble, and it's possibly less expensive than the double take or the retro reel, but that's the same sort of concept, right? Anyway, that was something they were doing within Neural that I thought was kind of interesting. So, where were we? This one. So, then the glitch delay. So we got note sync, so you can sync it up. Now, delay divisions is fairly straightforward. That's how many of these slices you're going to get within the actual kind of period of time, right? So if you do loads of them, you get loads of it. If you do a small amount, now where I think this works quite nicely is if you get rid of the time part altogether and start to do this kind of thing. And you start to get an idea for what it is that it's doing. Now, mix obviously is what it is. Feedback I think you start to get some repeats. So that's kind of that. Shuffle kind of gives you this idea that you can move them around. Yeah, so that sort of chucks things around, but it is very sort of difficult to control. Pitch, then as you turn it down, you get no of the pitch. Turn it all the way up, it's all. And I think to me that's where some of the magic really is. So delay division you could also think of as grain size, I think, because these are now going to be. And like pitch, reverse means that you'll be playing. You know, there'll be reverse. And once you start to sort of mix these parameters in together is where some of the magic happens. Now, here is a really important parameter, because if we do this, what we could do is actually stick with what we like. So if you've got like a part, and you think, right, actually, I want something a bit different. Turn up sequence drift. And keep playing around with this parameter until you find something that does what you want. So you could also change the pitches. So you hear there's a fifth coming through there. You lose the low cut and high cut, and that's kind of the magic of the thing. What other things you could consider doing is putting, for instance, reverb on that same. you know, so that's really effective. And what you need to do is just be super careful about making sure you save things that you like, because they will be gone if you don't. And be really careful of that sequence drift, because you can use this to get rid of this or find your next sort of magic idea. I'm going to export these three. Those were just some kind of ideas, you know, if you're liking that particular vibe and you like that Misha Mantle X plugin or the sound of that, you can get it in other places. You know, I use this, you know, fairly often. Other ideas, use tremolo auto pan to get it chucking left and right as well. And again, like I say, if you find one of these sort of presets and you think, actually, what would this sound like? Could I get something different out of here? All you really need to do is use this sequence drift. Until you find that I think is one of the most beautiful sort of effects ever. I'll catch you in another video soon. Jump into the folder if you want to check out any of these, and cheers for stopping by.